Miss Jenna here. I'm going to read you guys one of my favorite stories called Chrysanthemum. The author of this story is Kevin Hankes, who, if you can remember, also wrote a story that we just read before school closed. The story called Owen was also wrote by Kevin Hankes. So Kevin Hankes, what's pretty cool about him is he's actually from Wisconsin and he lives in Madison. So yeah, we're gonna read this story by him called Chrysanthemum. I don't know if you've ever heard of this story before, but this is one of my favorites. So chrysanthemum, that's a pretty weird word, isn't it? A chrysanthemum is actually a flower. It's this type of flower right here. So let's see what this story's about. We'll start with a little picture walk, just to figure out what this story is going to be about. Looks like she's a baby there. Looks like it might be her birthday. I see her name on a cake. Looks like she's at school. Looks like it's probably nap time here. Uh-oh, she looks really sad here. I think these are probably her parents, right? Looks like she's writing her name. Looks sad again. I wonder what's going on. She's covering her ears. Sad again. Oh no. She looks really happy at the end though. I wonder what this story is going to be about. Let's read it and find out. So this is called Chrysanthemum by Kevin Hankes. If you notice, if you recognize these little mice, Kevin Hankes is also the illustrator of his stories, and a lot of his illustrations, the characters are these little mice. So that's how you can always tell it's a Kevin Hankes book. Chrysanthemum by Kevin Hankes. The day she was born was the happiest day in her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything she is, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called for her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered it to herself in the bathroom mirror. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. And she loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on a birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself with her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought her name was absolutely perfect. And then she started school. On her first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress. It has a sun right on her dress. And her brightest smile. She ran all the way. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school. But when Miss Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Look at everyone's name is written here in these little boxes like a school picture. Look at Chrysanthemum sticks all the way outside the picture. She has a really long name. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Miss Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. Miss Chudd didn't like that very much. Look at Victoria. Stands up right in the middle of nap time and says that. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Look at this picture behind them. Do you recognize that? That's Wisconsin. That's us right there. See, this is Lake Michigan. Here's the peninsula of Wisconsin. Here's a little barn and a little picture of some cheese and some trees up here. And this star right here, that's Madison. That's our state capital. That's where Kevin Hankey's is from. It's cool that he included that. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag. And I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful and precious and priceless and fascinating and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup, and an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That's this game right here that they're playing. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane. It was an extremely pleasant dream. Why was she dreaming that her name was Jane? The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her most comfortable jumper. She walked to school as slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. Why is she so sad to go to school today? She even looks like a flower, said Victoria, as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, A chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said, as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even look like a flower. They pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother. They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Whoa, those are pretty long words. Envious, begrudged, and disconnected and jaundiced? Those all just mean jealous. Who wouldn't be jealous of a name like yours, said her mother. After all, it's absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream frosting, and another evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. That night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals. Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. That's really scary. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest route possible to school. She stopped and stared at each and every flower. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum," the flowers seemed to say. That morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales. Then she assigned roles for the class musical. Victoria was the fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger. And Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. A daisy's another flower. Do you think they're gonna make fun of her because she got picked to be a flower and her name's Chrysanthemum? Let's see. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy, Joda, Rita, and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. "What's so humorous?" asked Miss Twinkle. "Chrysanthemum," was the answer. "Her name is so long," said Jo. "It scarcely fits on her name tag," said Rita, pointing. "I'm named after my grandmother," said Victoria. "She's named after a flower." What do you think Miss Twinkle's going to say about that? It doesn't seem like Miss Twinkle is very happy about that, about how they're laughing at Chrysanthemum. "My name is long," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It is?" said Jo. "My name would scarcely fit on my name tag," said Mrs. Twinkle. "It would?" said Rita. "And," said Mrs. Twinkle, "I'm named after a flower too." "You are?" "Yes," said Mrs. Twinkle. "My name is Delphinium." Delphinium's another name of a flower. "Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect." Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed, she bloomed, she gleamed, and she bloomed. Did you notice every time when Chrysanthemum was sad in the story, they said Chrysanthemum wilted? Do you know what that means, to wilt? That's like when a flower droops because it doesn't have enough water. That's what Chrysanthemum felt like when they were making fun of her. And when Chrysanthemum was happy, she bloomed like a flower. "Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum." Jo, Rita, and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. "Call me Marigold," said Jo. "I'm Carnation," said Rita. "My name is Lily of the Valley," said Victoria. Those are all names of flowers: Marigold, Carnation, and Lily. Now they all want to be called flowers. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. This is the epilogue. An epilogue is a little note that the author leaves at the end of a story. It says, "Overall, the class musical was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made the only mistake." Here's Chrysanthemum as a daisy, and here's Victoria. "She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled throughout the entire dance of the flowers. Eventually, Miss Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl. There she is. What do you think her name is?" And of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. Well, that's the story of Chrysanthemum. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys all stay safe and healthy, and I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye.